Hello, everyone. This is Mr. Nobody, and I am back again. I was gone on vacation for several days, so I'm sorry if you missed me. You probably didn't, but I'm back in any case. And today, I was thinking about this on vacation. As I was driving, I was remembering all the long car trips that I took as a kid, and it made me think of this. No, not the accordion. This is related to something that kept me happy during many long car trips with my Sony Walkman. This is the Weird Al Squeeze Box, which is a collection of all of Weird Al's albums. And so what I actually want to do today is I am going to rank Weird Al's albums. This is something that I had to wrestle over. Of course, to some degree, this is affected by my own opinions, my own experience, but I have been listening to Weird Al ever since I was a little kid. I grew up with him. I was each album that came out, we would get my brother and I, and we would listen to. We started out with the little tapes, of course. Grew up on the movie UHF, and my review for that very quickly is it's awesome. It's a lot of fun. Watch it, especially when you're young, because that's when you'll really appreciate it the most. So first, ranked at the bottom is actually going to be Polka Party. Polka Party is as close as Weird Al comes to having just a forgettable album. It happened. It's got these songs, Living with a Hernia, Dog Eat Dog, Addicted to Spuds, One of Those Days, a few others. There's really only one song that stands out, and that's Christmas at Ground Zero. I had a lot of fun singing that song. It's one of his multiple dark Christmas songs. That's the first one, I believe. Also, Good Enough for Now. That one's also fun. Another one of his unromantic romance songs. But most of the rest of them are just kind of forgettable songs. So now we'll jump up. Here's my next ranked. Mandatory Fun. Now, of course, this was actually a fairly big hit. This is a more recent album. And I don't mean to be too critical of it. This is one where we're already into the ones that I would say, oh, yeah, this is worth having. Like, this is the only one that I would say, if you had to skip a Weird Al album, skip Polka Party. But this one's worth having. But in my opinion, even though there's all these fun videos of it out there, it's just, it's fine. I would say, in my opinion, the best song on here is First World Problems, which I believe is a style parody, The Pixies. Most of these are just what I call fine. They're a little straightforward. Handy's good, but it's not like there's anything too crazy about it, except that he sings it well. Foil, again, it's fine. It's just not that interesting. Word Crimes. Word Crimes is probably the other best song on this. Those are the two that stand out to me. Only really two songs that stand out onto me. Tacky, maybe kind of a distant third. So that's it. I don't have too much to say about Mandatory Fun. I actually went to the Mandatory Fun concert, which was a lot of fun. If you get a chance, definitely go to a Weird Al concert. He's a lot of fun. If you can possibly get on the self-indulgent tour where he does his own music, I particularly enjoy those songs, and clearly he enjoys them a lot too. So you should definitely try to get to a Weird Al concert if you can. It's well worth it. So next rank, Alpocalypse. Now this is one that I actually kind of skipped at the time. It was during a period where I was married and having kids, and a lot was going on, and I just wasn't paying that much attention. Now I came back and I did listen to it, and it's actually fun. Perform This Way, that one in particular is pretty fun. That's a Lady Gaga parody. I would say that's probably the standout. And then Skipper Dan, about someone who does the boat rides on the Jungle Boat tours at Disneyland. That's another fun one. Some of the others, they're fine. If That Isn't Love, that's actually one of my favorites. It's in one other one of his. It's not his unhappy love songs, his unromantic love songs. It's one of his creepy love songs, which I'm a big fan of all of those. I'm a big fan of the unromantic love songs and also the creepy love songs. And If That Isn't Love is a good example of it. And it's actually a really nice song, and it's well sung. So I actually really appreciate when Weird Al sings some of these songs, he actually does a really nice job, and that's a good one. And I feel like he puts a lot of passion into that performance too. Poodle Hat. So here's Poodle Hat, my next ranked album. This, I completely missed this one when it came out. I totally missed it. Like I said, a lot was going on in my life. I could not really, Weird Al wasn't on my brain right now. And that is his dog. So Poodle Hat, I was surprised when I went back and actually listened to it. There really are some fun songs in that. eBay is a very catchy kind of classic song, actually, you know? Like, it's not just, oh, yeah, no, it's, I want it that way, I got it on eBay. You know, you're like, all right, sure, but he actually has a lot of fun with it. He sings it well. It's got good lyrics. Bob, that's also a good one, a style parody. Ode to a Superhero, that's the Spider-Man one. That one's also very good. Why Does This Always Happen to Me? That's a great song. That is one of the songs that really stands out on this. It's a song about someone complaining about the things that always happen to them in the context of horrible things that are happening to other people while minor things happen to them. Wanna Be Your Lover. I'd never heard the actual song of this, but the parody of it is great. And some of these others are decent too. So I was surprised. A bunch of these songs on here were a lot more clever than I expected to be. They're very classic Weird Al. So I would say we're already now into what I would call, wow, this is actually some classic Weird Al stuff. This is one that you don't want to miss. So next ranked, we're going back in time a little bit. My next one, Weird Al Yankovic in 3D. Now we're into the ones where I actually have strong nostalgic feelings about this album. I grew up singing these, listening to these. I actually think some of these are truly great and iconic songs on this, like Essential Weird Al, Eat It. I mean, that's one of the top Weird Al songs ever made. Maybe this should be ranked higher. I had a really hard deciding for everything from this album up, because everything from this album up is just, it's part of the core collection. Like, you gotta have all of these. But other people probably don't remember these other songs as much as I do. So Midnight Star. I loved the song Midnight Star about it's like boy, I'm completely spacing on what they are called. The tabloid journalism, fake newspapers. So I thought that was a lot of fun. I really loved the song Buy Me a Condo. I loved I Lost on Jeopardy. I was a big fan of King of Suede. That Boy Could Dance, one of my favorites. Theme from Rocky 13, it's just a solid, good song. I mean, the parody of it's fun enough. And then Nature Trail to Hell. This is actually one of my absolute favorite Weird Al songs. So this one begins and ends with two of my favorite of all time songs, Eat It and Nature Trail to Hell. This song is so epic and so big, so much bigger than it needed to be. And very early on in the Weird Al canon, just showing like how weird and creative and ambitious he was. So I think this is a really impressive album. It was hard for me to actually put it this low. But like I said, there's just so many good ones. And some of my personal prejudices probably came into the choices. So next, UHF, title that came out at the time of the movie. This one, I put a little higher, partly just because all of these songs, if you did grow up the movie, are going to just click in your mind. They're going to bring back the nostalgia. They're going to wrap you around with Weird Al. They've got a lot of energy. The song UHF is a fantastic song. Again, another example of Weird Al just going so much more all out and crazy and big and creative with the song than you would ever think he would or have any reason to. And you've got, from the movie, things like the Beverly Hillbillies song, Gandhi 2, Attack of the Radioactive Hamsters from Planet Near Mars. I loved that song when I was a kid. I'll Thing, loved that song when I was a kid. Let Me Be Your Hog, short but really good. Generic Blues. Generic Blues is genuinely brilliant. It is like a distillation of blues songs of different genres, different songs. It's a sort of song that I'm sure blues musicians listen to it and it's just their favorite thing. Generic Blues is great. In its own way, it is brilliant. It is a brilliant analysis of blues itself. And then, of course, Spam. I feel like Spam, in some ways, is the iconic Weird Al silly food song. He's got a lot of silly food songs. For me, Spam is the iconic silly food song. And then Biggest Ball of Twine in Minnesota. I was listening to that just earlier this week while I was driving, and we're on our way to visit a attraction called Carhenge, which is one of those old types of roadside attractions where someone made Stonehenge out of cars. They did it. That's what they did. And so I was listening to the Biggest Ball of Twine in Minnesota. That's also a great one. Because it's him beginning to experiment with this idea of long-form narrative musical storytelling, which he would end up doing with a bunch of last songs at the end of albums. But I believe this is the first time that he does it, where he does like a truly long, epic story in the form of a song. And so that is a fantastic example of it. Fun Zone's just a fun, silly song. Spatula City, that's, a silly bit from the movie, but very classic. So now we're moving into heavy hitters. Weird Al Yankovic, Allopalooza. So partly this did come out around the time of Jurassic Park. I was born in 1981. That was a time where I was very excited, very much enjoying pop culture. I loved seeing Weird Al poking fun at pop culture and having fun with it. So all of these made a big impact on me and connected to the stuff that I was enjoying at the time. Because you've got stuff like Achy Breaky Song. Now, as much as that song has actually gone into the past, at the time where I was growing up, it was being played all the time. They brought us into the gym to learn line dancing to that Billy Ray Cyrus song. And so we were all, don't tell my heart, my achy breaky heart. Yes, that I was having to dance that at the time that this song came out. Frank's 2000-inch TV. That's just a fun song. It's got actually some great vocalizations in it, some really good singings that I really appreciate. It's actually musically a very nice song. Bedrock Anthem, I loved this. So you got Red Hot Chili Peppers. He actually does 2 Red Hot Chili Pepper songs in it. I love this song. I still love this song. Young, Dumb, and Ugly. It's a little annoying to listen to, but it's fun and it captures that punky attitude. And of course, Jurassic Park is a parody of one of the most famous bad songs of all time, MacArthur Park. You can see the beginnings of things he would do with stuff like Star Wars in that, where he takes a big pop culture thing and renders its story into it. And there's just some other, fun, silly. These are all kind of silly in there. She Never Told Me She Was a Mime, completely absurd. Harvey the Wonder Hamster, Waffle King. Most of the second half of these are kind of like B's, but it's still just a strong album. I've probably ranked it higher than it deserved just because of the age that I was and what was going on in my life and how pertinent it was to my own cultural experience at the time. So next, I debated over where to put this one, Weird Al Yankovic. So this is iconic. I mean, look at this art. It's fantastic art. I love this messy art. Captures a lot of that early Weird Al feeling. I feel like if you want to get your hands on classic Al, of course, this is the one to do it. And these are the songs that established his voice and what he meant for me. So this was the first album where I was like, who is Weird Al? What is he? What is he about? This is the album, and there's a bunch of classic songs in here. Ricky, which also the woman in it is voiced by Tress MacNeille, which if you watch Disney cartoons, she's the current voice of Daisy Duck. She does tons of voices on Futurama, including Mom. I love Mom, the most evil billionaire of the future. And she's also in Avatar: The Last Airbender. Tons. I mean, she's in a million different things. But this is an early appearance of a young Tress MacNeille. Got a Boogie. I love that song. I taught myself the lyrics to virtually every one of these songs when I was a little kid. This is literally like the first album where I memorized all the words to it. I Love Rocky Road, Buckingham Blues. That's probably the weakest one in here. Happy Birthday. I replayed that again and again to figure out the lyrics to that. Stop Dragging My Car Around, a little weaker. My Bologna, classic. This is one of the ones that gets Weird Al going as an artist and gets him as a name. Another one, Rides a Bus. That's another one of his oldest, earliest things. Now, I actually am also a big fan of these last three. These last three are some of my favorites. Such a groovy guy. I put on a performance of that in my living room wearing sunglasses and like a sports coat, and I'm pretty sure no shirt when I was a little kid. Mr. Frump in the Iron Lung. That's just a silly, it's a joke in the form of a song. I'll Be Mellow When I'm Dead. I recorded myself singing this song. I have horrible recordings of myself singing that song, but I put a lot of effort into memorizing that one because I felt like that captured a lot of my experience. I had this problem when I was a kid where I was extremely small and I had a lot of personality and I was extremely talkative and I was a bit of a clown and an attention hog. And I would get asked the same question all the time. All the time. People would ask me all the time, has anyone ever told you you're weird? Now, I grew up in a small town, so in a small town, that's about as offensive as, people would get back then. In the 80s, people didn't really use much worse language than that. But I got asked that so many times by so many people for years and years and years, and partly it kind of wears on you. I mean, I was just kind of like, yeah, whatever, yeah, I mean, but it's a problematic question because you're like, what am I supposed to say to that? Because we're fairly polite people where I came from. Like, what is your response to that? Like, it's clearly not, it's a backhanded insult. And so how do you respond to it? Do you say no? Do you say yes? Most of the time I just said, no, yes. Yeah. And sort of laughed it off, have a good attitude about it. But over time, it wore on me until I was like, no one's ever told me that before. I sort of started to lose my sense of humor about it. And for me, this song, I'll Be Mellow When I'm Dead, was sort of my own personal anthem in response to that question. So now I want to move on to Straight Outta Linwood. So this was kind of a big comeback album for him where he wasn't quite selling as much, and then he smashed through with this. I was surprised myself that I ranked it this high, but as I was looking through it, I realized it's actually a really strong album. It's also significant because it does represent a big comeback for him. White and Nerdy crashed through, broke through. It also introduced me to Key and Peele. It's a great song. Canadian Idiot, awesome song. I'll Sue Ya, great song. Confessions, I had never heard Confessions Part 2. But I have to say, Confessions Part 3 just made me laugh out loud. Like, it's one of the most laugh out loud funny of Weird Al's modern ones, like ones within the last, I don't know how long it's been now. The last 5 years, the last 10 years, it's hard to keep track. It's been multiple decades. Do I Creep You Out? I love that song. I do not love the music video because it's got all these extra noises in it that mess it up and distract it. I just want to hear the song. But it's a fantastic song. Don't Download This Song. Another, surprisingly amazing song. Close But No Cigar, that's kind of a weaker version of the unromantic romance song. Weasel Stomping Day, another one of his silly ones. It's good. It's fine. But yes, Confessions Part 3, I'll Sue Ya, Canadian Idiot, White and Nerdy, Do I Creep You Out, Don't Download the Song. That's a bunch of great songs in there. So that's why this actually, for me, is of his last few albums, the best one. So now we're going back to a time when Weird Al had a lot of ups and downs in his career. He's had 3 peaks, because he had his early period where he came in and he peaked and then he sort of faded. And all of a sudden he came back and then he came back again. And so Running with Scissors is my next one. Again, another album, I was surprised how high I put it. Partly maybe it's the time, partly it's the memories. But this showed Weird Al was really still going strong. Even as I transitioned from elementary school to middle school to high schooler, Weird Al was still going strong. And he had this huge breakthrough with The Saga Begins. Now, that's the famous Star Wars one. Now, I recorded a video of myself singing that in a bathrobe with a lightsaber in my basement. Just lip syncing along to it. So we're clearly connecting this to some memories that I've got. But I'd say this is an unusual album. And I'd say virtually every single song on this album, with one exception, is that's a ringer. That's a good one. My Baby's in Love with Eddie Vedder. I didn't know who Eddie Vedder is. Now I do because I have some in-laws who are really into him. Great song, Pretty Fly for a Rabbi. Very good song. Weird Al Show thing. Jerry Springer. Incredible. I mean, I love the original, but the Jerry Springer song is top notch. The speed with which he is kicking out those lyrics is fantastic. It is a very difficult song to sing. This is one of the few Weird Al songs where it's like, I'm not sure I can actually sing that. I'm not sure I can keep up with him. I'm not sure I can actually remember all the lyrics. I would have to really buckle down and practice. It's incredible. Germs, classic. Horoscope for today. Another just really fun one. All About the Penny M's. I've actually always loved that song. I think it's incredible. Great music video. One of my favorite songs and music videos. Truck driving song. I like to sing this in the car when I'm driving. Like every single one of these is a winner. And I'm going to skip to Albuquerque, like the quintessential giant epic Weird Al story song. I think it's something like 11, 12 minutes long. Maybe there's an argument the Biggest Ball of Twine is more classic and more tight. It is overall better, but Albuquerque's right up there with it. The only one that you could just totally cut is Grapefruit Diet. That one's uninspired, but literally every other song on here is a classic. So now, these ones, we're down to the last four, the top four. So again, some of my personal feelings are going to come into this. This, Off the Deep End. What an incredible album cover. This is, I think, one of his best album covers. I mean, of course, it's following, the Nirvana angle, but I love how he put his own twist on it. And he just knew who to grab onto at the right moment. I think that's part of what makes this album great, is Weird Al again and again would look at all the music that was out there and he could just see what are the right things, what are the things to go after, what's going to be the big moment. And this was where he really kept himself and pulled himself into the next period by saying, Nirvana, I'm going to do Nirvana parody. And the music videos from this, he used their same sets. I mean, it's great. It's fantastic. So Smells Like Nirvana, of course, that's, your title track. Trigger Happy. I love Trigger Happy. A great pro-gun song. I Can't Watch This. MC Hammer. Fantastic. So much fun. I Was Only Kidding. I love this song. I made the mistake of singing it to my wife once. It's another one of his unromantic romances. And again, one of my favorites. The White Stuff, I remember singing that in my mom's laundry room because I kind of needed a private space. A lot of the family was upstairs, so I went downstairs in the laundry room with my tape player, and I remember listening to The White Stuff again and again, and really the whole album, trying to figure out the words to The White Stuff in my parents' laundry room. When I was your age, this is an incredible song. Really captures an exaggerated comical version of the things parents say, comparing their time to how easy their kids have it. Hilarious song. Just laugh out loud. Taco Grande, a silly food song, nothing crazy. Airline Amy, actually a nice sounding song, but maybe a little forgettable. Plumbing song kind of in that same area. You Don't Love Me Anymore, incredible. Another one of his creepy sort of romance songs about a guy who thinks his wife maybe doesn't love him because she keeps trying to murder him. I love that song. That is fantastic. So, number 3, Bad Hair Day. Looking like Coolio, recognize it. Dangerous Minds, I believe, was the movie that came out at the time. That's sort of what inspired him with that album, with this first song, Amish Paradise. These are all just so fantastic. Everything You Know Is Wrong. This is a crazy, absurdist. I would put this as a work of absurdist art. Everything You Know Is Wrong. It's not just a song. It's crazy, absurdist art. Cavity Search, Calling in Sick. Those are fun. Since You've Been Gone. Another unromantic romantic song. One of my favorites. Short, sweet, really great punchline at the end. I put in a lot of effort to teach myself the lyrics to this. I also, again, made the mistake of singing this to my wife. which I thought was funny. She did not find it quite so funny. Gump, Forrest Gump of the time, the American President's Lump. So Sick of You, fun. Syndicated Incorporated. Not necessarily the most hilarious song, but actually a really nice song to listen to. Like, I genuinely enjoy listening to that song just as a song. It's a enjoyable song. I Remember Larry, another one of his dark sort of serial killer murder themed songs that tells a story. Another great one. Phony Calls, that's just classic. And of course, The Night Santa Went Crazy. This is his ultimate Christmas song about. I used to sing this all the time at Christmas. This is one of the greatest comedy Christmas songs ever written. This is probably the greatest comedy Christmas song ever written. The Night Santa Went Crazy. Okay, we're down to the top two. So, if you know Weird Al's albums at all, you must know what I'm zooming in on. It is a particular period. It's not at the very beginning. It's not at the middle period. It's kind of a little bit on for that. To me, Dare to Be Stupid. Like, these are they are the quintessential Weird Al albums. So, Dare to Be Stupid. This is like so definitive. This is more old-fashioned Weird Al. These are the songs you'll still hear people wanting to hear. He used to close, maybe he still does, all of his performances with Yoda. Like a Surgeon, Madonna, Dare to Be Stupid. What a fantastic song. So crazy, so off the wall. It's more of a style parody in many ways. I Want a New Duck. There's a fun online short you can watch where Huey Lewis murders Weird Al Yankovic. The real Huey Lewis murders Weird Al Yankovic over that song. One More Minute. This was probably my favorite Weird Al song when I was a kid. One More Minute. I would sing this and sing this and sing this in the car. The unromantic romance song. This still remains, this might be the greatest parody romance song ever written. It's fantastic. Yoda. Early example of playing with pop culture and movies and making a fun song about a movie. Early entry, but remains just as iconic as ever. George of the Jungle, fun, slaying creatures from outer space, kind of telling a story, science fiction. I love the weird sounds and sound effects. There's such a sound to this album. This has such a distinct atmosphere and style to it. I think that's part of why this is near the top for me, because it has such a unique style that there isn't anything else that quite sounds like this album. Girls Just Want to Have Lunch. I enjoyed that song, but you can tell he doesn't actually enjoy that song quite as much. He doesn't want to sing it as much. This Is the Life. I love that song. I also memorized that song and would sing that. I found a notebook the other day, and is the notebook where I had sat down and been listening to that song and been writing down the lyrics to try and get them all straight. Because back then, I just had the tapes. I didn't actually have the little cover liners that had the lyrics on it, and you didn't have the internet to look up lyrics. You just had to often listen to stuff and figure out what people were saying. And I wanted to sing that song very much. And I, again, pretty sure I put on a performance of that in my parents' bedroom wearing just some pajama shorts. Cable TV. Fun and silly. So, like I said, there's something about the sound of this album that is just unique. It's zany. It's weird. Weird use of instruments. Weird use of effects in a way that just captures some of that unique Weird Al style. And then here is my number one pick. Even worse. This is the album where I said, if you had to own one Weird Al album, which should it be? I would say Even Worse. And this is the funny thing. Well, for one thing, what a fantastic cover. He's obviously having fun with the Michael Jackson album. But this was what showed that really Weird Al wasn't just a flash in the pan. He wasn't just a minor thing that was going to pass. Like, this guy had some genius in him. This guy had some real ability to capture something. He had the ability to identify what he should be parodying. This is the thing that got him played on MTV and turned him into a household name, because he did incredible parodies of the videos in here. In particular, Fat. I mean, these are just winners. I mean, Fat. That song and that music video, that made Weird Al, along with Eat It, of course. But they so capture the Weird Al absurd humor too. And Stuck in the Closet with Vanna White, as I said, he's got a number of songs that sort of just lend into almost more like absurdist works of art, just bizarre, dreamlike, craziness. Stuck in the Closet with Vanna White is one of those types of songs. It's not the best one. He's got other ones that are better, but this is an earlier example of it. This song is just 6 words long. A great parody. I have often complained myself a lot about pop songs that they get one hook and one phrase and they just repeat it infinitely, and that's all the song is. And it's actually a fun song to listen to. You Make Me, sort of unromantic, romantic song. I loved this song. I tried to memorize it, but I found it was a little too difficult when I was a kid. I think I'm a clone now. My daughter was listening to that in the car the other day because she found I'd put it on an MP3 player because I really just love that song. I mean, I love the original song too, but I must enjoy the Weird Al version more. Lasagna, classic. This is the sort of classic Weird Al silly food song. You know, the songs that aren't not really about anything. They're just silly and about food. Lasagna is probably one of the top ones. That Melanie, creepy romantic song, fantastic. I believe this is the one where he commits suicide at some point in the song. And that, I just love that. I love those dark twists. I love how far he would go with his songs, where either he would commit suicide or he would kill the other person. I love that. Alimony, just a fun song. Velvet Elvis, strange sound to it. Not my favorite song, but I always found it strangely intriguing. Twister, Beastie Boys parody, fantastic parody. The Beastie Boys captured it so well, but with something so shallow. It's really the perfect Beastie Boys parodies. Good Old Days. This is one of my favorites. He's also done like an acoustic cover of this one. Again, the sort of creepy romance. This might be the best and my favorite creepy romance one, although it's not just a romance. It's more just general creepy nostalgia, and it's asked the question, how would a serial killer look back on their life with nostalgia? So yes, and you have to watch the videos for these, of course. I mean, I can't say how many times I watched this. So that's it. Those are my rankings. Weird Al is honestly one of my favorite musical artists. He always has been. He really touched something in me when I was a kid, of the zaniness. Part of what I like about it is it has a dark edge to it, a lot of his stuff, but it's not mean-spirited. He doesn't swear, he doesn't drink, he doesn't cuss. He just likes to have fun. He's a fun, creative guy. He actually lives a very stable, normal life. But who has fun expressing himself in this craziness. And that's kind of what I felt like I was like, because when I was at school, I was always getting asked, has anyone ever told you you're weird? And I was this crazy, zany person because I was entertained by it. And I also actually enjoyed entertaining other people. I didn't mind making fun of myself and being seen as ridiculous and embarrassing myself for the entertainment of others, because I just knew that it was funny and actually liked being funny. I liked making other people happy. I also didn't completely mind the attention. But when I went home, people would ask my mom, they're like, oh, what's he like at home? Is it pretty crazy? Mom would be like, no, he goes in his room and he reads. Or he goes and builds Legos. Or he sits on the couch quietly and listens to music. It's like, yeah, people ask the same thing about Weird Al. They see all this energy that he puts out for his performances. And like, wow, what is it like to be you? What do you do when you come and visit a place? And he's like, well, when I come here, I spend most of my time reading. I like to sit in my hotel room, and I don't really go out much. There's a lot of, I want to save my that energy in my voice for the performance, and I like to just kind of take it easy. And everyone's like, oh, so there's a division between the performance that you put on and the behind the scenes everyday reality. And that's very much how it was for Weird Al. That's very much how it was for me when I went home. My mom, I loved hanging out with her. I'd just sit in her kitchen with her and listen to her listening to Garrison Keillor or to some book on tape and I'd just sit there and listen with her, or I'd go sit in my room. I like to be quiet, and sometimes people called and would be like, "Hey, does Mike want to come hang out?" And I'd tell my mom, like, "Can you tell me that I can't play right now because I just kind of want to be on my own?" And people didn't know that side of me. They didn't know that was such a big side of me. I'm not actually an extrovert. I'm an introvert. But I have this sense of humor and this sort of zaniness and this love of messing around and poking at things. And I feel like that's kind of what Weird Al is. He's not actually out to like destroy the world or tear down everything. It's just like, learn not to take yourself too seriously. Have a little fun, you know. And even people who are actually quiet, dutiful people can have a lot of fun. And it's okay. You know, you can be a little weird, and it's just for fun, you know. It's playing around. Anyway, my wife has never been able to quite get on board with my love of Weird Al, but guys don't expect too much of your wives in that way. I was very lucky in that my wife actually did see UHF as a kid, and so she does have an appreciation of it, and she knew all the lines from it, and so that was something fun that we were able to share because her and her friends had grown up watching it. So, you know, introduce your kids to it young so they'll know their UHF references. Anyway, that's all for today. See you next time.